Hello and welcome back to Exploring Computer Science. Today I'm going to talk about how you might have different players take turns in a game. I'll start by showing you a simple example. We'll go full screen here. We have a button called Player 1. I think Player 1 represents the dog. If I click on it, hey, the dog moves, and notice that my button changed to Player 2. I click on that, and Player 2 goes, and then last we're going to expect that the cricket will move, and indeed it did. They each move different amounts. I click Player 1, Player 2, Player 3. They're taking turns. You can see eventually somebody will win. Yeah, the dog won. Oh, and the button went away. So we're going to talk about how that was done. And I think the easiest way to do that is to actually start a brand new project and talk about the button here. And here it comes. We'll keep the cat, but we're going to start with a button. Fastest way to get a button is to type button. And there is a button. And we'll just place it down here at the bottom somewhere. And now here comes the fun part. We're going to go to that button's costumes. You notice that it has two costumes. I'm going to use the text tool to type, we'll call it cat on top of this one. That's not a great color for that button. Let's go down to a black for the text, and we can use the arrow key to resize that. So now I've got a button labeled cat. And I could also take a second one, and let's label this one dog. And it was nice of it to remember my colors there. Change that size. So there we have a button called cat, or costume called cat, and then a costume called dog. Right now, the name of the button is button 2-A. That's not very useful. I am going to name that button cat, that costume cat, and I'm going to name this costume dog to match what's on them. It makes coding a lot easier if your names make sense. So now let's get to the code. We're going to, as usual, start with a when green flag clicked. And we're going to now have the decision. Whose turn is it first? Well, that depends on what we switch the costume to. So let's switch costume to dog. It's the dog's turn first. Great. Maybe we ought to get a dog. Let's grab a dog. And there's that dog. Dog 2. We'll put the dog down below, the cat up on top. Dog. Our colors are backwards there, but that's okay. So go back to our button, switch costume to dog. And so when green flag is clicked, it says dog. That makes sense. Life is good. Now we need to set up a different event handler for any time the button is clicked. So when this sprite is clicked, well, I need to tell the dog to take its turn, maybe, but only if it's the dog's turn. So how can I know whose turn it is? Well, I know because of the costume name. So I'm going to grab an if then else. We've got two conditions. It's either going to be the dog's turn or the cat's turn. So if I look at my operators, bring down an equal sign, and then go over to looks, we can go down to costume. It says costume number, but I would rather do this costume name. You can do it both ways, but I think it makes more sense. If costume name is dog, I'm going to spell it exactly the same. Watch your case. If it's capitalized in the costume name, make sure that it's capitalized here. So if costume name equals dog, then we're going to have a dog's turn. For the dog's turn, I'm just going to broadcast a message. I'm going to broadcast and wait. And I'm going to make that message be dog's turn. So whatever it takes for the dog to take its turn, it can respond to that message. And if I click, let's see, if the costume name is not dog, then the costume name must be cat. So let's make a new message here and call it cat's turn. If it's dog's turn, where the costume name equals dog, then we're going to broadcast that it's the dog's turn. Otherwise, we're going to say it's the cat's turn. If I click this sprite, it's the dog's turn. It's still the dog's turn. We haven't changed our costume number. In order to take turns, once the dog has taken its turn, we need to switch our costume back to whoever's turn it's going to be. It's going to be the cat's turn if the dog just took its turn, and it's going to be the dog's turn if the cat just took its turn. So now this code should switch between dog and cat and broadcast a message to have each of them do their thing. Let's go to the cat, give it some code to respond to this, and we're almost done. When I receive cat's turn, let's go big again here. When I receive cat's turn, maybe it can move 10 steps. We'll go very quickly here through this. Move 10 steps, but 10's kind of boring for a game. What if we picked a random number? Pick a random number 1 to 30 steps. Make the game go a little bit faster. The dog, it's going to be very similar, so I'm going to start with the same code, but then I will change it to the dog's turn. It's also going to move a random 1 to 30 steps. Let's try it. Green flag, we hit the dog key. The cat moves, the dog moves, the cat moves. They are taking turns, and at some point one of them will get to the other end. That's how we use taking turns. I'll show you one more thing. If we had 3 characters, how could we do it? Well, it's pretty easy. We just have to add another if-else block for every new character. So if else, I'm going to copy this and make it be if costume name equals cat. Then that's what we would do if it's the cat's turn. And this gives us one more option for a third player. So if it's the dog's turn, we take the dog's turn, we switch to cat. If it's the cat's turn, we take the cat's turn, and we don't switch to dog anymore. We need to create another costume. I'm going to do that very fast by just duplicating that costume, changing its name to, we'll do a mouse. I don't know that I have a mouse costume, but we could just type mouse in there, make sure that we type it here as well. So now we have 3 buttons, and we could broadcast the message. I'm going to duplicate both of those things there. We can broadcast the message, take mouse turn, and then finally at the end we're going to switch back to, oh, this one needs to be mouse, that one needs to be dog. So now we're going to cycle between the 3 characters. Of course, we don't have a mouse, but you can imagine how that would be done. So that's a way to have different characters take different turns. What they do on their turns is up as a topic for a different discussion, but they need to each respond to their own turn's name. And that's different turns using a button with multiple costumes. All right, good luck. I hope your project turns out well, and we'll see you next time.